Hello YouTube, this is my fourth and final installment of my response to thunderbolt94's response to my video. At this point he ups the ante and starts using big complicated words like empiricism and epistemology. Yeah, this'll be fun.
It seems to me that the issue is not whether or not faith is based on evidence. It's an the real issue, is how I understand it, is that it's an issue not on faith, but on the issue of epistemology. A lot of atheists, when they're trying to say they're being rationalists in a debate, when you look at their epistemology, they're not being rationalists, they're being empiricists. That's how I think you're running on things. And you can clarify if I misunderstood your position. But if I understand your position correctly, you're not a rationalist, you're an empiricist. There is a difference between being a rationalist and an empiricist. Now, they're not mutually exclusive. You can be rationalist and empiricist, but many atheists who try to say that they're being rationalist, they're in reality are being empiricists.
All the atheists I know are both rationalist and empiricist. That is, all the atheists I would consider to be rational, obviously. I can't know what's in their head. I have no problem with being called an empiricist. I am very much that. Now, I'm not extremist in that regard. I'm not going to ask for empirical evidence that there's not a singularity outside my door. Pretty sure I could take that on faith, confidence faith. But yeah, I'm an empiricist. If you make a claim, you need to have some form of reliable evidence. Yes, I am an empiricist. I am also a rationalist, regardless of what you think about me. And believe me, your opinion of me, based on this video, I could care so much less than I used to. Before you made this video, I didn't want you to think I was too bad a guy. Now I think that might actually be a good thing, because
Now, I will post a link in the description box. You never mentioned, and I posted this in my original video to you. You never addressed this, but I'm going to post it again. I would highly recommend you read it, because it goes into the whole classic debate between empiricists and rationalists. This has been going on in philosophical debate, this philosophical circles, as what is the best way to gain knowledge, whether through empiricism or rationalism. I would say I am a rationalist based on the philosophical definition.
and I would say you might be working your way towards becoming a rationalist, but you're not there yet. As for which one is better, I think you need to understand that this argument has been going on for almost 3,000 years. And you know what? The only reason that we don't have Greek spaceships flying through space with Greek words on them and colonizing Mars is because way back around the time of the Greek philosophers, the philosophers who believed that you can figure anything out just by thinking about it oppressed the philosophers who believed, no, we should test things. The philosophers beat out the scientists. They discredited them, and they strongly discouraged them from continuing along that vein of reasoning. Because of that, they literally set us back maybe 2,000 years. If we had started experimenting at that point, humanity would have been changed as we know it. There's not even a comparison. Yeah, I know you're a rationalist in your mind. I know you think that's better than empiricism. I also know you're wrong. How do I know that? Because empiricism produces things. It puts up rather than shutting up. Rationalism doesn't. Rationalism without empiricism This is empiricism. This desk is made out of wood. It doesn't really count. This is empiricism. Us talking right now is empiricism. No one figured this shit out just by thinking about it. Your life is preserved because of empiricism. Rationality alone, by the way, this isn't just about empiricism and rationality. What we're talking about is the difference between science and philosophy. Now, we need both. The core of science is empiricism. The core of philosophy is rationality. They're not comparable in that way, but if we had to pick one, empiricism actually produces results. Rationality, I'm not going to say it doesn't produce results, but there's no comparison when it comes to figuring new things out. I'm sorry, empiricism wins. It won the argument thousands of years ago. The only people holding desperately on to desperately onto the idea that rationality is superior to empiricism are religious philosophers, or at least those who lean more towards the religious mindset.
Because I say I believe rationalism is a better way of gaining knowledge than empiricism. Not to say that empiricism is a bad thing.
Well, considering you wouldn't be able to say that at all for several reasons. One, you probably wouldn't have survived without empiricism. Two, you're speaking into a microphone that was not made with rationality. They didn't think. I wonder if we could send. No, they tested. They experimented. Empiricism. It's probably a good thing that you don't say empiricism is bad, because it would make you look kind of silly.
But if I were to define my epistemology as of this video, I would say I lean heavily towards rationalism. That, like, a famous example of a rationalist would be Immanuel Kant, and he was one of the proponents of rationalism. Rationalism isn't strictly an atheist thing. It's an actual epistemological position.
I never claimed it was, and again, I clarified this in another video that apparently you did not watch. In this particular instance, in this one issue, the issue of theism and atheism, empiricism is the way to go. The methods by which theists are reaching their conclusions still aren't even rational. Sorry, they're not. It doesn't work because it's based on revealed knowledge. Revealed knowledge is one of the things that rationalism argues against. I don't care about Immanuel Kant. So what I will say is, if he wasn't an empiricist at all, he doesn't know what the hell he's talking about. Sorry, but rationalism alone was defeated thousands of years ago. Hence me talking to you on this computer.
Now, before I end this video, I want to address that one last thing you brought up at the end of your video, is that you mentioned the prophecy of Isaiah 7:14, and that actually translates to young woman or young maiden. I'm not sure why you brought this up to begin with, because I never once mentioned anything about that prophecy, and it's not even part of our discussion to begin with. So I don't know why you brought this up anyway.
You know, that's the second time, no, the third time you seem to show confusion when I presented an example of the type of thing I was talking about. I didn't know we weren't allowed to use examples. I didn't know that that necessarily means we had to delve deeply into those details. I was just using a few examples. The reason I brought that up is I don't actually remember, but let's go on.
Now you try to say that, well, I'm wrong about it being virgin when it really means young woman and all that stuff, when I never really said it did. I never made that argument. And to bring it And to make it very clear, yes, it does mean young woman. I've already knew that. I never said it meant virgin. It's not a big secret within biblical scholarship that means young woman or young maiden. I don't know why he even brought that up to begin with. So it doesn't pose a question. It doesn't pose a problem at all for Christian theology. So it's only a problem for like the hardcore fundamentalists, but it's not a problem at all for Christianity. So I'm not sure why you brought that up to begin with.
One, I brought it up, I remember now, because you're Catholic. Isn't the Virgin Mary a huge and important part of Catholic theology? Now, I might not know all the different types of Catholic, and I know this is probably the one point you're going to focus on most if you make a response, that you don't know Catholic theology. Whatever. I only brought that up because that seems to be something Catholics are ignoring. Venerating the Virgin Mary. I'm sorry, she probably wasn't a virgin. I mean, the whole story probably didn't happen. Jesus probably existed, but you can clearly see. It's a huge problem for Christian theology because you can see how many virgin myths from many older religions made its way into pretty much every theology. They all mix, they all share certain commonalities. Now, am I saying that um, Christianity is based off of the Greek? I think it was Perseus who was born of a virgin or divine birth or whatever. No, I'm saying perhaps they all had a common ancestor. It's a common cultural meme. So yeah, that is a problem for Christianity. You say it's only a problem for biblical inerrantists. I don't understand how even the biblical I don't know what to call them, relativists, I guess. What I don't understand is how far they go in the other direction. Anytime something is shown not to be the case, it's like, well, the gist of the story. No, that is an incredibly important thing, especially in Catholicism. You have a whole theology based off of the fact that Jesus was born of a virgin, and the original prophecy, it's not a virgin. It's other concepts got mixed in with that. So even if you look at the oldest Jewish documents, what we do have shows that the closer it got to Jesus' time, little by little, not as gradualistic, but at some point, the Hebrew word that meant young maiden started to be the Hebrew word that meant young maiden but could also mean virgin. And by the time the first gospel writer got to it, he translated it as virgin. That's a big thing. It shows that it at least shows that that part of the Bible was not inspired by God. Because why would God put something that... You know what? It's irrelevant. I was showing that even core concepts of Christianity have little or no evidence, or can at least be shown to be fabrications to make it fit with the original text. Consider this. Say I make a story, or say I make a prophecy, right? And I write it down. And someone else is trying to con people into thinking that that prophecy came true. Now there's another prophecy or stories that talk about something else. Well, he's writing about the past, talking about how this prophecy comes true, and he accidentally incorporates that other thing into the prophecy that I made. Now, doesn't that say something about his willingness to make his writings fit with my prophecy? You can see that he added something that he thought was part of the original prophecy to his new writings. That's the point it's trying to make. You're saying that the Gospels are legitimate evidence. Well, this is serious evidence that casts doubt on that, on the fact that you can desperately see the later gospel writers trying to make Jesus fulfill all the prophecies, and he just doesn't. He fails because he's not magic. Neither were the Jews who made the prophecies. That's the point I was trying to make. I said that, whereas I probably wouldn't with the Protestant, not because of how much of a biblical inerrantist you are, but because you're Catholic. As far as I'm aware, that's a huge part of Catholic theology. You might not be in that particular part that considers the Virgin Mary important, but sue me for not knowing your particular sect.
Anyway, that's it for now. You can have the last word because I have other things I gotta worry about. I don't have as much time to do back and forth and go ad nauseum. So if you're still interested in having group stickam, let me know, because we can discuss these matters a little more in depth if we're in a group on stickam. Anyway, that's about it. Take care.
Oh, why, thank you. You're giving me the last word, because that's why we were having this conversation. The last word? If this video hadn't been so vapid and strawmanned every point and regressed, it's like you ignored the last few clarifications we made to each other, and you are responding to the very first or second video I made to you. I clarified what I meant by domain of rationality. I clarified what I meant about faith, though I did a little bit better here. So we did expand on it. That's okay. But no, this isn't about the last word. This isn't about going back and forth. If this video had not been the steaming pile of crap that it was, again, only because you strawman me and your arguments were so mind-bogglingly fallacious that it would almost insult my honor not to respond to this video. You have a choice. You can either acknowledge the arguments I just made. You can do it on Stickcam. By the way, kind of a joke, but when you were saying group Stickcam, the way you paused for a second made me thought you were going to say group sex. It's like, wait, when did we agree to that? Anyway, what was I saying? Oh yeah, yeah, you want to have a group Stickcam? We can do that. But know that if you don't make a video responding to these things, this is what I'm going to be talking about. These things. And I was okay with you before you made this video. I'm a little bit more perplexed now because you seem genuine, which would only make you genuinely incompetent when it comes to these issues. Because again, I'm sorry. You misunderstood the spaghetti monster thing entirely. I don't know how you've even had conversations with atheists not understanding the basic premises of that thought experiment. It's just awful. I'm sorry that this turned into ponage, but if you take anything from these videos, the one thing I want you to take from these videos is that you are absolutely, positively
wrong, 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 wrong. Wrong, 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 wrong. You're wrong, you're wrong, you're wrong.